I got a call from a friend of mine in Belayin, a small village in the West Bank, to tell me that at the same time as we were being evicted, 200 soldiers had invaded the village and arrested 7 people. I went back, but little did I know that Belayin would become my home for the next 6 months. Can you start the photos? Of course, Belayin isn't just any ordinary village. It is situated right on the apartheid wall that Israel has built, which has stolen over half the land of the village. Being a traditional farming village, many farmers lost everything they ever had when the wall was built. Now, every Friday for the last 5 years, and that's going back to when construction of the wall began, the people of Belayin have marched to the wall to non-violently protest against the theft of their land, together with Israeli activists and with supporters from around the world, to chant and wave banners and to demonstrate their disgust at Israel's occupation policies in a peaceful manner. So for the 6 months I was there, I marched with them. And every week, without fail, our peaceful tactics were met with the full force of the Israeli army. Clouds of tear gas, deafening sound grenades, rubber-coated steel bullets, and even live ammunition. In response to the non-violent demonstration, the Israeli army launched a campaign of intimidation and harassment against the people of Belayin. For 4 months straight while I was there, the Israeli army would raid the village every night, dragging young teenage boys from their bed as they slept, some as young as 13 or 14 years old, and throwing them in jail for months on end, purely for the fact that they participated in the demonstrations. Now, when I first arrived in the village, these were just any people being arrested. But as 1 month, 2 months passed, it became close friends of mine, people I was chatting to in the day and hanging out with, being taken from us at night. And the invasions were not limited to night times. On some occasions, the army would invade the village in the middle of the day, just to harass the residents. During one of these invasions in the daytime, the head of the army went to the mother of the family I was living with, and this family lived in one of the closest houses nearest the wall. And he said to her, if these demonstrations don't stop every Friday, I'm going to come back and blow your house up. So it's a wonder we got any sleep around there at all. But more than this, I want to tell you about the people that I met in Belayin, the people that didn't only become like my family, but who I consider now are my family. The first person I ever met in Belayin was a guy called Haitham. He was working as a filmmaker, and he would come out every night to document the crimes of the Israeli army, and also come every Friday to film the demonstrations. Now, Since the campaign of non-violent resistance and the raids in response began, Haitham lost his regular job as an electrician, his only form of income. And I remember asking him once why he sacrificed so much time and energy to do this. And he told me that when he was 15 years old, he was arrested in a similar raid and put in jail for 2 years. And he didn't want the kids now to feel as afraid and alone as he felt when he was arrested. Now, Haitham's youngest child was a 2-year-old boy called Kami. And when Kami was just a few months old, he was diagnosed with leukemia. Before the resistance began, Haitham would take his son every day to the hospital in Jerusalem to get treatment. But since he began filming the demonstrations and the night raids, the Israeli army refused to renew his permit in order for him to travel to Jerusalem, which, by the way, is occupied Palestinian land in the first place. So in essence, for daring to play a role in this non-violent resistance movement, Haitham has been punished by the fact that he can't take his small son to Jerusalem, to the hospital, to get the treatment that he needs to live. For nearly my whole time in Belayin, I was living with a young guy called Hamdi. He's 22 years old and aspiring photographer and has all the same ambitions and aspirations as me and you. But the only difference is that he's trapped under a military occupation. Every night we would sit up in his room together, waiting for news of another invasion, waiting to see who would be arrested next. But I can't count Andy as a friend of mine because 6 months is too long for that. I consider him my brother by now. Hamdi's older brother is a guy called Hamiz. During one of the Friday demonstrations, Hamiz was shot in the head by an Israeli soldier from around 20 meters away. He was in a coma for 2 weeks, stayed in hospital for several months after that, and still suffers from his injuries today. And you could tell because all his brothers were very jokey people, whereas Hamiz was a lot more serious and would get angry over small things.